Hi, my name is Tim Stokes, founder of Profit Transformations, and today we're talking about step 2 of the 7 steps to business certainty, team building and recruitment. The number one profit skill in business is people skills. Your employees are people, your customers are people, your suppliers are people, and even you are one of those people. So why aren't we studying psychology before we go into business? It's a very interesting question, but an extremely relevant one, because it's the one area I see business owners are weakest in. They're not strong with people skills. So I want to share with you in this video a lot about this subject so you can start to get a better handle on why you need to develop your people skills, what sort of areas you can develop your people skills, and then how to go about it, get started on this. So people skills include your ability to identify attitudes of people. Some people have good attitudes, some people have great attitudes. Some people's attitudes frankly make it very hard for you to do anything with them, to work with them, to live with them. So it happens in not just your employees but also your clients. Sometimes you can have poor attitude clients that waste your time, don't pay on time, ask you 5,000 questions, really don't do what they're supposed to do on the end of the bargain, then they complain and they're unhappy. These are attitudes that people have, their behavior patterns. So identifying this rapidly in people, and I mean in a minute or 2 or 5, you can start to get the skill to identify attitudes of people within minutes. It's something I've become exceptional at myself, and I have clients that are exceptional at it as well. Understanding personality traits. We'll talk a little bit more about this as we go along, but this is a subject that is poorly understood by the majority of people as well. They just don't understand certain traits that people have that are big neon signs highlighting where they're going to be strong or where they're going to be weak, and that's what personality helps us to identify. To influence people is a people skill. Can you persuade people to pay 20% more than what they currently do now and maintain your sales skills or your sales conversion rates after putting your price up 20%? Now this is something I've taught hundreds of businesses to do with spectacular results. My best success was with a tree service business that put his prices up 50% in 2 months, and his conversion rate went from 42% to 65% because of the extreme skills that I taught him about sales and selling to people with a bit of marketing thrown in there as well. His profits went from $500 a week to $5,000 a week within 2 months. Now that's an example where your ability to influence people can make a huge improvement in your sales and your profitability of your business. Lead your team. Willingly following is what leadership's about. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. But your ability to lead your team and to teach effectively and patiently so that when you taught them something, they actually use it. They apply what it is that you've taught them. These are all skills with people that we can develop. And another one is, if you're going to become a good teacher, which it's a skill, well, you want to be able to identify teachable people, because some people, frankly, are just not very teachable. Their attitudes don't allow them to be teachable. And this is something you want to be able to develop, the skill of identifying teachable people in interviews before you hire them, not find out 2 months later that they don't learn, they're not very good learners. So this is something that's a great skill to have and a highly profitable one, to have all these skills packaged up. Self-fulfilling prophecies is something I want to talk to you a little bit about, because this is partly mindset, and you're a people just like everyone else. So we need to have a look at where you may be creating outcomes in your business that you're not happy with. Following on from workshop 1 or video 1, where we talked about building your vision, we talked about mindset. So what happens is we create our own world, our own reality from our own mindset. Our fears, false evidence appearing real, that's what our fears are, make us focus on specific outcomes. That's what a fear does. In video 1, we talked about how we need to focus on what we want. It builds an emotive response, and then it triggers us into action. Well, fear does the same. It dictates the actions that you take because of the mindset that you have. So then we focus on a specific outcome from the fear of what it is that we have that may come about, that we then create, because what you focus on is what we create. And that becomes a challenge in our business, in our life. So, and I'll give you an example, a fear of employees leaving you. What happens if you train them and then they leave? Well, then they leave because they aren't actually respected or educated or feel valued. So this fear that I've met business owners with, that they say, oh, I don't want to train them, oh, they just leave if you train them. Well, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when they aren't trained, they don't feel valued, they don't feel respected enough for you to spend more time with them, so then they feel unappreciated, then they leave. So this is an example of a self-fulfilling prophecy where the mindset that we can have can get in the way of our own success. So adopting a team mindset, common limiting beliefs that business owners have that we need to look at include: you can't find good employees who want to work. It's something I've heard hundreds and hundreds of times. Business owners come out with it. You can't find good employees who actually want to work. None of them want to work hard these days. Or it's the Y generation, and all these sort of limiting beliefs that they run. You can't trust them. You can't trust people. You can't trust employees. That's a big one. Now, when people say this, I hear ignorance. That's what I hear when people say you can't trust people. I say, well, you don't know who's trustworthy and who isn't. Because there are some people in this world who are extremely trustworthy, trust them with anything and everything, and there are some people you wouldn't trust them with anything. What they're saying is they can't identify or distinguish the difference between them. So when people say you can't trust people, you can't trust employees to do the right thing or be honest, what they're saying is they don't really understand those people. No one can do this task as good as me. Now, this may not be something that business owners say, but it's something often what they think, that no one can do it, so therefore I need to do it because no one can do it as good as me. That's a common limiting belief as well. So these mindsets sabotage profitable business growth and success. That's a mindset that we need to transcend. We need to revisit, to relook at it. So team building is a mindset that needs to start with empowering beliefs. These limiting beliefs can massively hold business owners back. They grow their business to the level where their stress can handle it, if you like, where they've got so many employees, they're like a whole big support crew, and they don't have any time, yet they've got 10 or 15 or 20 employees. I find that amazing, that they've got that many employees, yet they've still got no time. And sometimes it's because these limiting beliefs are running their mindset is like that. So we need to transfer that mindset of I've got no time and I'm really busy into things that make you really productive. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So freeing up your time. If you had 50% more time, that might be 3 days or 4 days a week for some people, based on how many hours they work. If you had 50% more time, then someone else would be doing what you do now. Is that right? Because that's where your time would go. So the things that you do now in your business typically come under 5 categories. There's sales, there's admin work, there's production work, the technical industry-based work, there's finance work, invoicing, chasing money, banking, and then there's management. That's kind of it. The 5 categories of what you do come under those headings. So if you were to free up some time and it was 50%, then someone else would be doing that right now. So when are you going to start training them? That's what it comes down to. If you've got people working for you and you still don't have much time, well, why is that? If you're doing anything but management, it's costing you a fortune. Management, strategies, and investing your time, and it will make you more money than you being a salesperson or you being a production person or an admin. We talked about this in video 1 a bit as well, about not being this super technician. So it comes down to this. If you want more time, or when are you going to train people to do what you do and then you free up your time? That's as simple as it is. Don't let busyness get in your way. You need to think about investing your time. We all have 24 hours in a day to create success. Every single one of us has the same number of hours in a day to create success. Why can some people be extremely wealthy, extremely successful, grow their businesses rapidly, have the lifestyle they desire, and other people keep saying they've got no time, yet they've got the same number of hours in a day? We all have the same amount of time. It's what you do with it that makes the difference. Remember this from video 1. Entrepreneurs do things once. Remember we talked about that. So we have a mindset as business owners, or I used to have this mindset where I felt I had to do everything, and if it is to be, it's up to me. Instead of thinking, well, I don't like doing repetitious things. I stopped wanting to do repetitious work years ago. I love creating, and I like to share with people how to create. That's my passion. It's my purpose, is to empower people to do the things they didn't think they could do. So I love doing things once. Creating this video is something I'm doing once. And that's something I want you to instill in your own mindset. If I said to you, what have you done once in the last week that you don't have to do again? What would your answer be? Could you list off a lot of things, or could you not even find one thing? It gives you an idea of the path that you're on in life as to how many things you're doing once to accelerate your success by leveraging your efforts versus doing things that are highly repetitious, like sales or talking to people or answering the phone or talking to one of your employees about how to do something instead of turning it into a system that they can learn from themselves. Things like that is what we need to start thinking about. How to create a great team. This is all about team building, this video, and part of it is mindset, part of it is skill sets. Training everyone achieves more. That to me is what team stands for. It's when you train people to have your skills instead of keeping it a secret in your head or not putting it into a systemized format or a digital format. Systems to me these days are digital. They're not documented. They're digital. This video is a digital system. It's not documented. So all people have a basic desire to learn and grow. So training them fulfills this desire. And when you do this, then they get more loyal to your business. So people change jobs typically because these are two emotional needs aren't met. They feel like there's not enough challenge. There's too much routine, too much boring consistency. They're not learning, they're not evolving, they're not growing. And this is a basic human need to learn and to grow. So are you training your team 2 to 6 hours every week so they replace you in sales, admin, production, and finance? They're the 4 areas you want to replace yourself. Move into management because one idea can make you $1 million. You can double your profits by applying a strategy and see that double increase within weeks to months, as it has with my clients, just by focusing on putting strategies in by being the manager of your business. So it starts with freeing up your time so you can manage. It starts with leveraging by training your team to do what you do now. And instead of saying you don't have any time, well, that's the reason why you need to do it. When people say they don't have any money, I say you need to go and spend some. I don't have any time. Good, you need to go and spend some. But don't spend it, let's invest it. So that's what we need to do in a business environment. Your number one role as a business owner is not to be a super technician, but to become a super leader and teacher. That's a two-sided coin that I want you to start thinking more about. Become a great leader to become a great teacher, and they are very similar in how they express themselves. And that's the number one role you need to have as a business owner, not a great doer or super technician. And then to teach your teachers. So over time, what you may have supervisors, you may have them now, or you may be at a point in time where you're thinking about it. Well, you need to teach them to teach as well. So you teach your teachers to teach and then instill humility in them so that therefore they're always learning. When the opposite of humility is like arrogance. Arrogance is like, I know, you don't have to tell me, I already know about that. And that's the opposite of learning. You can't learn when you think you've learned it all. Your cup's already full. So instilling humility is a critical element in your business, and that means constantly and always learning. And that's something that you want your supervisors to think about so they're great at teaching. A lot of time business owners promote an employee into a supervisory role. Then they get a bit arrogant, a bit cocky, think they're too important. Then the team productivity drops because the team don't like that supervisor's attitude because they lack humility. Humility is to say things like, I couldn't do that either when I first started working here, but this is what I learned, and I'll give you some tips if you like, and let me know how you go I'll share some of the things that I've learned when I first started how to do that job. Instead of saying, that's how you're supposed to do it, why haven't you done it? Well, you're not very bright, are you? And that arrogant attitude destroys the business. So humility is one of the best attributes you can instill in any business for it to keep growing without too much hierarchy that damages the profits as the business grows and increases in size. The secret of effective teaching is, first of all, don't monologue. Monologuing is lecturing. That is not teaching. Lecturing, where I talk and you listen, is really not teaching. You'll notice that every now and again I'll ask you a question because I know when I do, it makes you engage more with the content as I ask you a question. And in the 7 Steps of Business Certainty, I do this a lot. I'm constantly asking people questions. I'll say things like, actually, what is leadership? Let's define it. What do you think it is? And ask people to define what it is. So I constantly use teaching methods in how I train people in business because it teaches them to think. Whereas if you just monologue and then go, why didn't you remember what I told you? That's extremely poor leadership. That's being a dictator to me. It's not being a leader at all. So here's the first one. Use questions all the time. What questions can you use when you are asking your team members things? Let them reply and acknowledge them. When someone replies to a question, acknowledge what they said. Don't just pretend that they didn't say anything and then keep talking or as though they didn't say anything. That really makes people unhappy. Start with asking what they already know. It could be, look, Bob, I've got a task for you to do. I'm just wondering, have you ever done this before? Okay, if you have, great. What did you know about it? What do you know about it? If I was to give you this task again, how would you go about it? It's as simple as that. Just asking questions to find out if they know about it, if they don't know about it. And then if they did, say, how would you go about it this time then? Or what do you think are the most important things? It's really simple stuff, this, but the difference is profound. It makes a huge difference rapidly. Then you fill in the gaps. You find out what they know, find out what they don't know, and say, okay, this is the outcome. Remember in the first video we talked about what and why? So good teachers talk about outcomes. This is what we're trying to achieve. This is where we are now. How would we go about it? And you use how secondary. You don't go, how are you going to go about it? Because it's like saying, how are you going to get from point A to point B? And they don't even know what point B is. They got no idea how to get to point B if they don't know what it looks like. So by describing what you're trying to achieve as an outcome and asking what they already know and then talking about what outcome you want and why that you want that outcome, you'll see them nod their head very quickly and go, oh, okay, so now I understand. So it's like saying, well, you got to go north and this is how far you got to go north, then you'll hit your destination. It's like, oh, that's pretty easy. But this is what business owners don't do. This is what people in business environments don't do enough of. Let them answer, then ask them some more. So make it question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. People love having the ability to speak. People love the sound of their own voice 10,000 times more than yours. So if they're nodding their head, you got a bunch of noddies that you're lecturing to, then you'll be frustrated because they don't remember what you tell them, and that dialogue often comes out. So do the opposite of that. Congratulate any progress. This is a very important thing. Every animal on the planet is taught to do tricks, etc., by positive behavioral conditioning, not negative. You don't negatively train people to do anything, just like you don't negatively train animals to do anything, except repress them and then make them upset and then want to leave. Don't use any of that sort of negative stuff at all. Anytime they make any progress, say, well done, fantastic, you're just starting, well done, keep it up. That's it. Instill that confidence in your students. Don't criticize attempts at applying, always encourage and have fun. Fun, it's just proven fact. People learn more when they're having fun. So joke, smile. Smiling is a good exercise to do in a business environment. See, if you kind of dump or criticize or get aggressive with your employees, what are they going to do with that energy you've just given them? They're either going to pass it on to a coworker or they're going to dump it onto one of your customers because they can't give it back to you. So treat employees how you want them to treat your customers, exactly the same. If you're encouraging and you're friendly and you're happy and accommodating and supportive and complimentary, guess what? They'll be positive and then your customer will think, what a great business, I have to tell my friends. But if you're upset with your staff and you criticize them and you get angry at them and you're frustrated, well, that's creating a tone in your business where they're going to pass it on to your customer. Then you're going to wonder why it's so hard to get money coming in or getting customers. Customers will come back if they love the experience. If they don't, then it's because of the people they've met and talked to in the business. It all starts with you. A leader's responsibility is to talk to followers so they willingly follow. That's a big one. Willingly, not grudgingly because you can pull rank because you're the boss. Empower followers to co-lead. So you want to educate people to the point where they start going, oh, okay, you've asked me questions, you've educated me, so what I'm thinking is, and then you have a two-way dialogue of co-leadership. That's ideally what you want to do, to the point where you make yourself redundant as a leader by that empowering conversation of question, answer, and then they just run things by you. So previously, instead of monologuing how you want something done, they come to you and just ask them a few questions. Then in the end, they don't come to you and they just go and do it themselves. That's a process that you take people through. You want to create a friendly, open environment in business where people want to talk, they want to talk with each other, and they're friendly towards each other, therefore they'll be friendly towards the customers. But if people aren't friendly to each other, co-worker to co-worker, they won't be friendly to any customers they talk to either. It just goes one and the same. Speak by showing first strong interest in listening. So show that you're interested in listening, and then they'll listen to you. But if you don't show them how to be a good listener, they haven't been taught, so therefore how can they reciprocate that? Where can you improve in these areas? Where can you improve in all 5 of these? That's something I'd like you to have a think about. Stop the video if you like, but have a think about where you can improve in all of these areas, because it just makes people happier when you show the consideration and respect and listen, ask questions, let them talk, empower, encourage. It makes a tremendous difference in days. I had a mechanic that applied these principles and his team's productivity jumped 50% in a week. In other words, his profit jumped 50% in a week by following these sort of principles in his business. Instant transformation for his business. The process of team building is this. Commonality is the first step. It leads to unity. I'll talk about these more as we go along. So when you have things in common with a person, it brings people together. So you may be married, and if you were married, you probably had similar interests, and the more you talked and discovered your similar interests, the more unified you became in your relationship. This is a common fact. When people come together, they unify. That's where Nelson Mandela used it in sport with the rugby union to bring the country together with a common interest. So commonality leads to unity. Unity over time with stimulation creates harmony. Harmony leads to synergy. Synergy leads to productivity, and productivity is actually profitability. It all starts with commonality, i.e. similar interests. So when you find things in interest with another person, you come closer to that person. So in your business, why don't you think about setting some monthly goals? It might be monthly sales or monthly productivity. In fact, you want to have goals that involve everyone, because the more people you involve with a goal, the more unified all those people become. Personality profile people. Have a bit of fun, bring some personality profiling into the business. There's one called DISC Profiles that I focus on extremely in-depth and comprehensively with the 7 Steps to Business Certainty training, and it's the best thing you can learn in business, as said by hundreds and hundreds of my clients for 17 years, ever since I started teaching it. It's a huge tool to help you understand people, and it brings people together, because everyone has a DISC profile. Personalities are not good or bad or right or wrong, they just are. And they're all different. So getting to know people as a human that happens to be working together helps people to feel more united. Weekly team meetings and getting together once a week is a key strategy in that as well. So getting together and having a chat, getting together and reviewing goals, talking about things, that unifies people because you're sharing an experience in common. This is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do in your business. Team recruitment. So let's talk on recruitment a little bit about priorities. Now, funny enough, most things I teach business owners is kind of almost the opposite of what they're thinking they should be doing. So a lot of people in business say, I need more customers so I can make more money, so I can grow my business, solve my cash flow problems. Whereas I say, no, you don't need more customers. You need to focus on these things like team productivity will increase your profits so that they do more work without actually spending any more money on salaries. So therefore you increase your profits and cash in the bank. So team building is a cash flow profitability strategy. It's one of the best, and yet people don't think about that. It's a little bit here the same, where what people want to do first to hire people is the opposite of what I teach. The first thing I want to say is you need to hire people with a great attitude. Now people talk about this and go, yeah, and then they write an ad that describes experience. So the ad fails to attract people with great attitudes because it's got all this experience-related content and a few words or a sentence or so in there with attitude. I found that the ad has to 100% focus on attitude. It's the most important trait in business. That's the first thing. And when you write an ad that attracts a person with a great attitude, you can use the same ad for every business. Now, this is something that in the Business Certainty Workshop series, I teach my clients, and I give them a full recruitment system with the ad already written. Now, with 20 years of marketing background behind me and 17 years of training thousands of business owners to get the feedback and to test and refine this system works better than any recruitment system I've seen anywhere in the world. And I can use exactly the same ad, change the job title, change the phone number, and that ad attracts great attitude people everywhere. And I've got hundreds of clients that are testimony to how great this process is and how good one ad is. They're all using the same ad, and it's been funny in our group workshop training sessions, sometimes two people in the same workshop are running the same ad with a different job title, and they both get lots of phone calls from them. They laugh about how ridiculous it is that the same ad for completely different industries, completely different businesses can pull so many great people, even though they're even running it in the same place. It's just extraordinary. So great attitude is the number one thing, and without pulling any extra things into the ads, you can attract them. So that's the most important thing. The next thing is the personality profile, because that's an aptitude. Some people are going to be naturally good at thinking. Some people are naturally good at initiating and jumping in and starting things and figuring things out as they go. Some people are really good with people. Some people are really good at being independent, working on their own. These are the different things that affect the personality profile and therefore the aptitude of the role. Now, I've had business owners where I've swapped people in their roles and they both excel, whereas before they were both looking like being terminated because the boss wasn't happy with them, purely because they were in roles that didn't suit their personality profile. So this is a critical ingredient because we all have latent skills of doing certain things. If you could have put a person who's an analytical, planning, scheduling expert and put him in a sales role where it's all about people skills and leadership, they'll be poor at it. That's not surprising. They just will. So the third thing we're looking for is experience in the technical skills, the resume, all those details in there. That's the third thing that we're looking for. Great attitude people are great learners. That's why it's number one, because you're going to teach them to do what it is they can't do, and because they're great learners, they'll get up to speed really, really quick. You fire people for attitude-related issues. Someone's not behaving the way, they're not turning up on time, they're not following through on their work, they're promising things, they're disturbing others, they're all behavioural issues. So if we don't hire people with poor attitudes, you never need to put them off. You don't need to fire anyone because your attitudes don't tend to change. But people with experience are the ones you put off because of their attitude. So let's not hire on experience, let's hire on attitude first. So to make the first step of your recruitment a conversation, this is a key ingredient. Most people's first step is send us a resume, and you start wasting time reading resumes with people that have probably got a bad attitude. Anyone can write a great resume, but not everyone can answer questions on the phone. So make the people call you as the first step, because people with great attitudes are willing to do what you want them to do, and therefore they will ring you. But if people can't ring you as the first step and don't want to talk to you, I wouldn't want to waste my time even hiring them, because part of the role is talking to them. They need to be able to talk. If they can't talk, why would you even want to hire them? They have to talk to their co-workers. So I make that the very first step of all the recruitment techniques and the systems that I give my clients. I say, here's a full recruitment system, here's exactly what you need to ask. In 3 questions on the phone, you can identify people with great attitudes. When you get skillful at this, or if you were to do the training, you'd learn all this, you get access to that full system. And you can pick them within 3 questions, and then you know who's got a great attitude or not. And then you keep asking them more questions to find out. And the way they answer it is an indication of their attitude. So I think looking at resumes first is a waste of time. Yes, you need experience sometimes, but you don't want to go looking for experience because you're not looking for attitudes. They're like opposite ends of the scale. I've run ads and seen business owners get highly technical people, superstars I call them, where they interview them and wonder what the position's about and may think about applying for it because they're shopping around, they got ridiculously high salaries, and because they're so experienced, and then they hire them and then they regret it and they're so disappointed with the whole recruitment process. Then they use my system where they hire people with great attitudes that may not know as much, and within 2 months they're up to speed and they're still saying they're great months later, not okay. And that's a simple thing. If I said to you now, if you've got employees, well, how would you rate the attitude? Would you say you got great ones, good ones, okay ones, or poor ones? Because my clients are still saying they're either fantastic or great 2, 3, 5 years later. Not, oh, they were great in the first day or week, and then they tape it off. So this is what it's all about. This is a 3-step recruitment system I encourage you to start looking at for yourself. So your mission, your goals, your actions, what I want you to do now between now and the next video is, first of all, create a happier workplace by investing hours in training each team member until you are redundant in that role. Make yourself redundant by being a great teacher. Learn and use all the secrets of teaching. All those things that I talked about in this video, document them down and go through them one at a time. Make sure you're using all of these different key elements when it comes to teaching. There's secrets because so few people in this world are actually aware of them or actually are using them. Encourage your team to ask questions for help and actually say to them, if you get stuck, ask me, I'm happy to have a chat to you. But if you don't say that, they assume they're supposed to figure it all out on their own, and if they make a mistake, then they'll just be in trouble. Instead of being the opposite, do the opposite for them. Work on your leadership responsibilities and skills, as we talked about in this video as well. And introduce goals and commonality strategies, as I talked about. So commonality creates unity. So unity leads to harmony, harmony to synergy, synergy to productivity, productivity to profitability. You want to increase your profits in your business without spending a cent? Start getting good at strategies that create unity in your business. Make your people happier. They'll make the customers happier. That's it. What goes around comes around. All right, so what's next? Step 3, the magic of measuring. So stay tuned for our next exciting video.